co-hosts a program called Ring of Fire. That's a nationally syndicated program. He has written or edited 10 books, including 2 New York Times bestsellers. He graduated from Harvard undergraduate, went on to UVA to get his law degree, was assistant DA in Manhattan in 1983, and is a partner with law firms of Morgan & Morgan and Kennedy and Madonna. Please welcome to the program Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Hey, Larry.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, did I hear a rumor that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is somewhat disillusioned with the direction in which the Democratic Party is going?
Well, I've been fighting the Democrats state by state. Unfortunately, it's almost all Democrats on the vaccine mandates. And I think in those states and around the country, the legislatures and the elected officials have really lost their way. They've lost touch with the traditional democratic values, including my body, my choice. They're mandating an unwanted, untested, zero liability medication pharmaceutical product to 78 million American children. The other areas where I think they've lost touch with traditional democratic values is about listening to women. There are 750,000 women in this country who are mothers of children with autism who believe that their child got autism from a vaccine. And, if 3 people tell you that, you might dismiss it. But if several hundred tell you that, you at least have to say, well, it's something that we ought to look into. And instead of listening to the mothers, they're listening to pharmaceutical companies and government officials. And, they're letting corporations dictate policy rather than listening to their constituents and saying we've got to do things that are good for these children. We've got to make sure that we have good science, the best science, that we have robust science, that we have independent regulators who have not been captured by industry, and that we have safe vaccines for our children.
Robert Kennedy, am I correct that even members of your own family have written an open letter stating that while you've been involved in a number of great causes, they dissent from your cause regarding the vaccines?
3 of my family members wrote that letter, and I've replied to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's entitled to their opinion, Larry, and people shouldn't listen to me. People should read the science. And what CDC says is not the science. And this argument has evolved nationally into appeals to authority. So nobody, in the 15 years I've been doing this, no journalist has ever cited a single scientific study to me. Instead, they say, well, you were wrong because CDC says you're wrong, or you're wrong because doctors say you're wrong. And, my answer to this is you need what doctors say, what CDC says, what public officials, what government agencies said is not science. Science is what is written in peer-reviewed publications published on PubMed. And on our website, on the Children's Health Defense, we have 1,400 studies published by independent scientists that say that we're not paying attention to these injuries that are being caused by vaccines. Now, listen, the CDC said opiates were safe and they weren't addictive. And, they gave us the opiate crisis in this country that's now killing more children every year than the Vietnam War did in 20 years. The 4 companies that make all 72 vaccines and are now mandated to American children are all convicted felons. These are companies that over the past 10 years have paid in penalties, fines, criminal charges over $35 billion for falsifying science, for defrauding regulators, for killing hundreds of thousands of Americans with drugs that they knew were going to kill them. Merck, which is the biggest vaccine maker in our country, killed between 120,000 and 500,000 Americans with its blockbuster headache pill, Vioxx. And they marketed Vioxx as a headache remedy, knowing that it caused heart attacks, and they didn't tell anybody. So it requires a kind of cognitive dissonance for the Democratic Party to believe it. And if you ask, Larry, if you ask any Democratic lawmaker, what is the most corrupt industry? They'll all tell you it's the pharmaceutical companies. And yet they believe that they're lying about all their pharmaceutical products, over-the-counter products, prescription products, and medical devices, but they're not lying about vaccines. And what I said is, show me one study that looks at unvaccinated children and compares them to vaccinated children, and that shows that vaccinated children are healthier. And if you can show me that study, and I will post it on my website, and I will stop doing this advocacy and go back to Waterkeeper full-time, which is what I want to be doing, protecting rivers.
My guest is Robert.
That study does not exist.
My guest is Robert F. My guest is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Mr. Kennedy, what about the other issues in your party that your party is pushing right now? I'm talking about things like wealth tax, student loan forgiveness, Medicare for all, reparations, $15 minimum wage, Green New Deal. Do you feel that these policies reflect where the country is, or do you feel that the Democratic Party has lost touch?
You know, the area that I'm most involved with, Larry, is on energy and the environment. And on that issue, I believe that the best way to regulate energy in this country is through the marketplace, by using market mechanisms. Free market capitalism is the most powerful economic engine that's ever been devised by human beings.
Mr. Kennedy, we're going to take a break. My guest is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He does not feel that his party is adopted the right position regarding vaccines.